Okay, here we go. Do you mind if I? Thanks for having me on the show. Do you mind if I bring my pet in really quick?
What? You mentioned you had a pet, but I wasn't sure what kind
No,
of pet.
yeah, he's usually people are intimidated by his size, but he's usually pretty harmless. You're toothless.
Oh my! That's
down, boy. Yeah, you're fine.
Oh, okay.
All right, everyone's fine. Everyone's fine. Like, let me just get some fish, and we're good. And all right, where's your co-host, Justin? Well, he's right here. Hello, I am Justin Quizon, and I'm here with my co-host, Andrew Linde.
Hi.
And this is an episode of Nothing New. Get the dragon away.
If only we knew how to train this dragon.
My goodness.
Welcome to an episode of Nothing New, a Remake podcast. We are here talking dragons, specifically how to train said dragons. But we're not alone, and Hiccup just left because Toothless needed to use the restroom, and he said you don't want to. You don't want to see how that goes.
Oh no.
It's a lot of work, he said. But we are still not alone. It's not just us. In the room we have a special guest. Can you introduce yourself?
Sure. I mean, I don't know if I could top Hiccup and Toothless, but yes, my name is Bethany Brinton. I have been on a podcast formerly known or formerly produced called "It's on My List," which featured a certain Andrew Linde.
Oh, hey, he's right here.
And I see you. And I'm a film composer and musician living in LA. So
very cool.
Well, we're glad to have you, especially because if I remember correctly, you are a big fan of How to Train Your Dragon.
I laughed very hard when you reached out to me about this episode because I mean I am a big fan and I guess I just didn't consider that all my friends know me as the How to Train Your Dragon person in their but I will happily accept that moniker. Yeah, I'm a huge fan of the original. I would say it's definitely one of my favorites. I would put it like top 2. And I've had the pleasure since moving to LA and working in the industry of working on the score for the third movie, How to Train Your Dragon 3.
Awesome.
In a music prep capacity, and then, funnily enough, right after that was finished, I was involved in the live action. Excuse me, not live action. Whoops. The live in concert adaptation of the original How to Train Your Dragon. And so I was. I basically watched this movie and got paid to do it over and over again,
Excellent.
Which is not a bad gig. And so we premiered that show in Lucerne, Switzerland. I would have to look it up, and I'm going to guess 2017. And so I got to work with John Powell, the composer, not only on the third film, but on the in concert version as well.
That's
so yeah, I'm pretty familiar with way more ins and outs of this music and the sound of this movie than anybody who didn't work on it has a right to be.
First off, it's amazing. I didn't realize how deep entrenched you were, especially because one of my highlights of the film is John Powell's score. Also, I didn't know you were involved in that Switzerland live action stage production. I remember seeing photos of that and being like, "Oh wow, that's."
Wait, quick. Are you thinking of the stage show where they had giant animatronic?
Is that what you're
dragons?
talking about, or no?
No.
Oh.
But I know what you're talking about. No, I was involved in the live in concert. So
I see.
I do a lot of these for work where we show a movie. Usually in a concert hall, sometimes outside, like at the Hollywood Bowl, and we get an orchestra to play the music live to the picture, almost as though you were at the scoring session, but it's timed out like perfectly in sync to the picture.
Gotcha. Okay, cool. So cool though.
Yeah.
More involved than I was.
Now, Bethany, did you see the original in theaters when it came out?
Yes, that was it was the perfect day. What remind me of the year again? Was it
2010?
Yeah, normally we skipped over our usual How to Train Dragon 2010.
Yes, yes, today we are talking about How to Train Your Dragon from 2010 and How to Train Your Dragon from 2025.
Yeah.
2025.
So yeah,
Yes,
15
so yeah, I would have
years.
been. I was 16 then. Yes, I remember seeing it that summer that it came out,
Mhm.
and it. Uh, I mean, aside from it just becoming one of my favorite movies, that was one of the first movies I saw where I really felt like the 3D gimmick kind of worked. I remember people were really like, I'd seen people try to do 3D and like they would re-release Disney movies in 3D and like I don't know, it just never really clicked for me. But then whatever they did with this film, I saw it in 3D. I'm like, okay, I can get behind that.
That's pretty good.
That's cool. Yeah.
I think I saw it when it came out as well. I must have seen it in theaters, not in 3D, but definitely saw it. And I remember, I mean, Toothless had a great impact on me. I thought that was such a cute little character and great design there. But I don't think I got as into the movie as you did, Bethany. But definitely, I was like, yeah, this is a cute little movie.
Mhm.
Justin, do you remember seeing it?
So I actually, I missed it in theaters. I was, and it was one of those where, for one reason or another, I just didn't get around to watching it in theaters. But I remember a year after it came out, the reputation of the movie really was growing. Specifically, I was really in Tumblr at that time. So,
oh boy,
the Tumblr posts were getting
Tumblrverse.
The Tumblrverse was very frequent with How to Train Your Dragon at that point, and one of my best friends, she admitted, she was like telling me like, how come you still haven't seen it yet? I went, okay, I have a weekend free, give me a minute. So like, I finally got around to watching it, and then like immediately like posted on my Tumblr page, okay, this movie's great. Sorry it took me this long. I apologize, but I get it. It's really good.
But I mean, I feel like I didn't watch the sequels, so it definitely didn't stick with me as it did with some people.
Right.
But it is, the basic idea of the movie.
Yeah.
Is Vikings fighting dragons, except for the one son, who realizes, wait a second, they're not so bad. Dragons aren't so bad.
Not so bad after all.
Yeah. And so it's Jay Baruchel, right? Is Hiccup?
Yes.
Which is, watching this movie now, all the voice cast to me feels like it truly was the most 2010 voice cast
100%
to ever exist.
Yeah.
It's Jay Baruchel. It's America Ferrera.
Yeah.
It's Jonah Hill.
It's Jonah Hill.
Christopher Mintz-Plasse.
Unfortunately, TJ Miller.
TJ Miller.
Yeah, TJ Miller,
Yep. And
Kristen Wiig.
And Kristen Wiig. And Gerard Butler.
And then even Craig Ferguson.
Who had time off his late night schedule.
Yeah.
Well, I miss him on that show.
Ever. Yes.
But it's truly like that is a cast that you would, no other year does that cast make sense except for that exact year.
This is 100%.
That's a very, it's a very of its time casting for sure.
Very, very true. Especially because like the fact like how like smaller the roles are for Jonah Hill, Christopher Mintz, and TJ Miller and Wiig is that like they definitely were like, just grab a couple of very like on the rise comedians, have them play these kids, and then like we'll put their name on the poster and such. But also they just happen to cast like, but they're also good at this, so it's not like you casted like a bunch of like no personality but at popular at the time. It's like no, it's like Kristen Wiig is Kristen Wiig,
Yeah.
And Jay Baruchel is the thing. I think this is a Hollywood point where they were trying to get Jay to become like a thing. He was like starting to be put into a couple of leading projects.
Yeah, that was around I Love You, Beth Miller. Was that the movie I'm thinking of?
Or She's Out of My League.
She's Out of My League.
Yes.
Yeah. So this is that was Jay's time. That was post Time to Shine, post Undeclared. That's how I became a fan of his.
Yeah.
So like I get it. It was that purely. Let's maybe make Jay Baruchel's name. And it's 3 years after 300, so Get Gerard. Get Gerard.
Yeah.
Butler.
Was Ugly Betty on also around this time? Was that already?
It had to have been.
Right.
I'm trying to remember. If it was, I don't remember it being as big at that time. But I mean, certainly like America Ferrera was like around
Oh, so okay, so
and it made sense.
so actually, believe it or not, Ugly Betty actually ended in 2010. So this is right
Yeah,
at the end
yeah.
of like the Ugly Betty period. So yeah,
That's yeah.
but yeah, you're right. She was around. This is a very 2010 cast. The movies are very very loosely based, but I will give credit to the author of the books that they're based off, called Cressida Cowell.
Cressida Cowell, yeah.
And I looked this up because I was like, well, it's based on a book. Let me see how many books were there. There's like 10 or more books. I was like, that's crazy. And I was like, well, let me see what's the first one about. Would you believe that the plot of this movie is absolutely nothing like the book?
There's nothing to do. I've actually never read the books, but I did the same thing where I like looked it up and I was like, huh, okay.
in the books, the whole thing of Vikings, they come of age and they train a dragon. Mm-hmm. That's how you become a Viking.
Yeah.
You train a dragon.
Yeah.
And that's like the whole thing.
No killing.
No killing. It's just like, well, it's really hard to train them. You know, yeah. Mm-hmm. It's just like, they're just going to have a hard time training these dragons. I was like, what?
Yeah. I think that's the classic studio executive note, but it actually works in this case where he walks in, he's like, wow, we need more conflict. We need more. Yeah.
Then I looked at the second book. I was like, well, come on. What's in the second book then? The second book, they meet pirates. just instantly.
Kind of fits in with the sequel, but not really loosely. Very, very loosely.
Well, I kept looking and it's like, in one of the sequels, they run into Roman soldiers. So it's like they're just meeting every time period character.
It sounds like a very Samurai Jack-esque series.
Yeah, I think that might have been the idea where it's like, well, we have Vikings. Yeah. Well, they can meet pirates. Well, they can meet Romans. Well, they can meet samurai. I don't know. But yeah, I was so shocked that the books... they do not resemble what the movie is at all.
Yeah.
They really just took the character names and were like, okay, we'll go from there.
And the idea of training a dragon.
Yeah.
And instead they made that more of like a real conflict in this movie.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Where it's what if you're not supposed to train a dragon? It's like, okay, that's interesting.
Yeah, the movie's actually about learning how to train a dragon by yourself, like figuring it out. It's not like there's a handbook. He's like going, okay, I'm like the Hiccup is literally making the book essentially of how to train your dragon with his relationship with Toothless. Mm-hmm. Let's jump into the movie itself. So basically, Berk, the Isle of Berk, is a home of Vikings that have to deal with a constant dragon problem, and like almost every day it feels like there's a dragon attack. They're kind of stubborn people, so they won't leave. So they're like, we'd rather fucking kill a bunch of them than try to leave this place because it's our home too. And Hiccup is the son of like the leader of the group, and he is, how do we say, not quite of stock of everyone.
Toothpick.
He is a toothpick.
This has come up on our show before, where he's the fail son.
He's the fail son,
which is just very typical. Where it's like, whatever he's supposed to grow into, and the dad wants him to be, he's not that at all. He can't cut it.
Not going to do that.
And his dad is essentially like, basically, his dad is stoic. Quite literally, the name is his father, stoic. And he is a man who, as Hiccup describes in these opening, it is said that after my father was birthed, he ripped the head off of a dragon. And do I believe it? Yes, I do. And that kind of tells you everything about stoic. Is like, this man, he literally is punching a dragon in the first opening of the film. Yeah, don't mess with this guy.
But yeah, the dragon attack, and you also meet Gobber right away, who has he has an arm and a leg that are prosthetic.
Yeah,
and that's kind of like a theme throughout the movie, where it's almost like Valiant to have lost a limb to a dragon. It means that you fought a dragon,
right?
Like it's kind of like a Medal of Honor.
Yeah.
But it also allows some funny moments where he can swap out his hand for like a hammer or an axe.
Yes, or his ale mug later.
Yeah. It's a detail that I don't think we really think much about, but I do like the fact because like it's established also Hiccup is kind of a bit of an inventor himself. He's a bit of a scientist himself, and
He's a man of science.
and he's being mentored by Gobber as being a blacksmith, but also you can kind of see because they both sort of have like this sort of like inventive side to themselves. It's not touched a lot, but they're both kind of the oddballs of the island in that regard. You know, like Gobber has two big, clearly visible injuries that he's figured out a way to kind of like still sustain himself on the island, but also he is not like, you could even make the argument that maybe no one views him as strong enough as like the other ones because he's lost so many limbs that he's kind of always like the slight handicapped in their eyes. And having him teach Hiccup is their way of going, well, we don't know what to do with Hiccup. He's a weird kid. Let Gobber take care of him. Because like Stoic has no idea what to do with him. It's a very classic like teenager parent relationship of like, we're on completely different wavelengths and we're not even like, and they still haven't figured out how to crack that relationship shell, you know?
And I think also, you know, Stoic and Gobber are like old friends.
Yeah.
It's definitely like he trusts Gobber to do the right thing with his son.
Mm-hmm.
But it's also Gobber sees that Hiccup is struggling and it's like, I'm doing the best I can. Like I'm trying to help him, you know, become a Viking, but also I'm letting him, you know, be a little creative.
Mm-hmm.
You know, because obviously, I mean, he makes that net gun shooter thing.
Yeah.
Gobber must have seen him make that, you know? Like,
yeah.
It's like Gobber's like, not now. Like he lets him make it, but he's like, when we're in danger, don't bring that up.
Yeah, don't bring out your toys.
Yeah. He's like, I'll let you screw around back there and build whatever you want, but don't embarrass me.
Yeah.
But then he does. I mean, they're under attack, and he brings out this kind of net launcher, which it's very funny to me because you would almost want someone like Hiccup who's coming up with alternative ways to take care of them, but because the Viking because Viking culture is so ingrained in what they do, they can't even consider that.
Right.
They don't even.
They're like, you have to like use your bare hands to fight these things, and like, you know, nothing bigger than an axe.
We'll give you an axe if we must, but just go punch it. So he invents this and he takes it out, and he actually hits a Night Fury, which is, as they say, the deadliest of all dragons. You can't even see it. No one has survived it. And we see it blow up a tower with its fireball attack, which is stronger than any of the other dragon attacks that we're seeing. And these are the variety of dragons, of course. Some shoot fire, some shoot gas and then light it on fire. Some have two heads. You know, It's different. The one that throws the needles. You know, that's a lot of different types of dragons.
Yeah.
But he actually manages to shoot one, but it lands off somewhere. He sees it land. But then he gets attacked by a dragon, and that leads to basically ruining half the town.
And I think that the thing to keep in mind with Hiccup is that Hiccup Hiccup's over eager to please and to prove himself, and that's obviously what's putting him in constant danger. And it's to prove like, oh look, Dad, see, I'm one of you guys, or look, Astrid, hey, look, I'm one of you guys.
Yes. I just want to be like you guys.
I just want to be like you. It's actually one of the most very I won't put a pin on that early, but it's a very simple scene with him and Gobber after the kind of like, you know, his father's kind of big, just talk with him, and that's the thing is that like, you know, Gobber's trying to say like, well, problem is it's like the inner you is just not good enough to do this, which is like the worst way of explaining why it's not working. But at the end of the day, it's like, yeah, but like, it's my village too. It's my dad. This is like, what else can I do? This is who I am, right? And that leads into like, you know, the next day where he's going off to try to find the Night Fury that he pretty sure caught. There's also, of course, that big like speech with Stoic and kind of like laying the groundwork of what they have to do next. That leads into like the scene with him and Gobber. Kind of like, what am I doing?
Yeah.
like I don't know what to do with that kid.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's and this is one of those like a sad dad movie where it's like
Very sad dad movie.
Yeah.
he's really he's really trying, but also he can't see it any other way.
Yeah.
So, but I think when this first meeting between Hiccup and Toothless before he's even named is such a great little scene. Because we see, he wants to be the Viking that his dad thinks he will be. And he pulls out the knife. He sees this dragon is all tied up in his net, and he's ready. He's really willing himself to do it. And then he just can't do it.
Mm-hmm.
He's just not that kind of Viking, that kind of person.
Mm-hmm.
And then even a step further, instead of, there's at this point he could have done so many different things.
Yeah.
But he has compassion.
Mm-hmm.
He sees something in the eye of the dragon, and he frees the dragon.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yes.
which then Toothless kind of pins him down
Right.
before flying off.
Mm-hmm.
Well, crashing off.
Yes.
But he's like, I can't even, like, he can't even believe what he just saw. But then it's also what it revealed about himself.
Yeah.
Is so crucial to him and to the movie. I'm like, that is like the crux. That's like the scene of this movie where it's like, that explains everything that is about to happen. And then when he comes back, then, I mean, I think this movie does a good job of balancing that tone, a dramatic tone, and a comedy tone.
Yeah.
Because when he comes back, it's late.
He's a very good job.
And when his dad is like, son, I have something to say to you. And he's like, I have something to say to you. And they say it at the same time.
Yeah.
And they're saying completely opposite things. And then he goes, oh, Dad, you go first. And then he says, tomorrow you're going to start your training. And he goes, oh, I should have gone first.
Yep.
And that
so
kinda,
funny.
And it goes back to like the whole like my point of like this, just the wavelengths are off because like no like literally the day before Hiccup is begging his dad, let me do this. Right? I can kill him. Look at that. Look at me. Look, strong me. I'm a killer. And literally his dad is essentially going, okay, you know what? Gobber convinced me. You're right. You can go start training. And by this point, the wavelength's different again. And Hiccup's like, oh shit, I actually don't want to do it. So that's kind of like a sad frustration of their characters, right? It's like this like even when Stoic thinks, okay, I'm gonna finally, the boy wants this, we're gonna be on the right track because I'm gonna finally give him what he's so excited to do. And by that point, Hiccup's already had another change of perspective on himself that he's realizing, shit. And not wanting to disappoint his dad, he's gonna be like, how do I do this?
But then he has to go to the training, which is they just get a bunch of the kids together, throw them in with Gobber in a training pit, and they've captured some dragons, which I always think is a funny detail that they kind of gloss over.
Yeah,
is the idea that there are some dragons that they kept.
Yeah,
they didn't kill them instantly. They were like, well, we got to use them for training.
Right.
I guess the idea is that eventually they will be killed by one of the kids training, like yeah. But I always think that's such a funny detail. It's like, is there a guy there who's feeding them? Like, what are they doing?
Probably.
Yeah, probably.
Probably Gobber's job.
And that's interesting to point. Yeah, it's a good point to point out. Is like the fact that like clearly they've got some dragons who they were like, oh, don't kill that one. Kids need to train. We'll kill them. Like you said, there's a ceremony that we find out later that will like eventually kill them. But right now it's like, it's like no, like get the twin head one, get the big fat one, put him over there, feed him enough, and kind of like Astrid is like, let's point out like Astrid a bit. Astrid is kind of like the A-star, the A+ student, the aspiration to of future Viking killers, and she's super into it.
Mhm.
She said that's her life goal, is to do that. Her goal is to be the chief, much like Stoke. And that's like, and everyone's kind of like, yeah, we get it. Everyone bows to Astrid, you know?
She is kind of, and looking at it from like that perspective of the in 2010, it is like that overachiever
Mm-hmm.
type
Mm-hmm.
that I think we saw in a lot of like teen movies of that
Sure,
time,
yeah.
where it's like, I'm going to be the best no matter what. Like, it's almost like a mean girl that's smart, you know, like it's like that very like, I am the best.
Yeah.
Get out
Yeah.
of my way.
Right.
Yeah, I would say it's almost the same attitude as like the too cool for school girl, but like in the opposite spectrum. Of like, I'm gonna ace school and I really don't have time to talk to you right now.
Yeah. No, 100%. There's also kind of, but while this train is happening, like Hiccup gets back to trying to figure out more about the Night Fury he captured and let go. And that's kind of where he discovers this sort of like kind of, I don't know what to call it, kind of like a hidden
Oh,
cove. Yeah, that's a good way of looking at it.
The glade.
The glade.
I don't know.
And he's observing the fact that this dragon is lost like a bit of his tail, like fin, I guess to put it, and he's been struggling to leave. And that's kind of an interesting position to show, obviously, Toothless at that point, because it's like it the whole point of it is like everyone's already demonized dragons for, you know, understandable reasons. They just think these things are awful and they're trying to kill us, and they breathe fire and do all these crazy things. But here's one that's legitimately flailing about and looks like would die if no one helps it, because it can't get out, can't fly away. Does it, you know, how will it be able to, you know, how much food does this area have, you know, etc. And it's already kind of making, again, the empathy that Hiccup already had before, you know, is why he let him go. And now he's seeing it and goes like, well, crap, now I can't leave him like that. And so that's the slow eventuality of him kind of like easing in to possibly, I'm not even sure he knows exactly what he's going to do.
Yeah.
yeah.
I think
it does not appear that way.
Yeah.
Well, and I think the crux of it is the movie makes it very, you know, this balance between we're seeing him training, and then he takes something they learned from training to Hiccup,
Yeah.
and then takes something he learned from Toothless into the training.
Mhm.
So they go back and forth. Where the first moment, the reason why he even goes back to check on this dragon is because Gobber, in the training with the Gronkle, Gronkle,
Yes,
is that what it's called?
Gronkle.
It shoots a fireball straight at Hiccup's head,
Mhm.
and the only reason why it doesn't hit is because Gobber grabs him at the last second, and Gobber says they always take the shot, and
They
there
always
he
go for the kill.
yeah, they always go for the kill. And he's like, well, why did this dragon not go for the kill?
Right.
He had me pinned.
Yeah.
So he's so intrigued by that as an idea of what is so different about this dragon that he has to go back, and that's where he first sees it trapped.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, so he's thinking it's not going to kill me, at least not right away. Like there's something interesting there.
And already that's a fascinating thing, right? It's like if Gobber is already like saying there's an animal instinct to these things, they will take the kill. And Hiccup goes, but I didn't take the kill. And he didn't take the kill. So that means that there's something, there isn't that instinct.
Mhm.
There's something else to him. That's already enough for him to go, now hold on a minute. Wait, then we're misunderstanding these things. And that's the first sign of that Hiccup takes. That's why he takes the risk.
Yeah.
And that the parallels between Hiccup and Toothless is going to be one of those, is the thing the movie keeps adding and growing, so that it's not just a simple best friend creature child relationship that we see so much in these movies. It's almost like their relationship gets stronger,
Very like symbiotic. At the end.
Yeah, definitely by the end for sure.
Now you have brought up the creature child relationship. Do you want to take this moment to talk about literally 2 episodes ago we did Lilo and Stitch, which is Chris Sanders
and Dean DeBlois
and Dean DeBlois.
Yeah.
Dean DeBlois. Yes, I can. So there is so part of the thing. let's go ahead and talk about this right now.
Yeah.
When we found out they were making live action adaptations of both these films and they were coming out the same year,
Same summer.
I literally told Andrew, we have to cover both. There's no way out of that. We have to talk about both of them because it seems wild that they were both coming out like a month from each other, pretty much. And yes, they both. This is the thing, is that like the fact that like Sanders and DeBois like both took a concept of a child who's kind of like the outcast, the not sure of themselves one, and finds solace and friendship with another like out of the world creature or a being, and finds that familiarity, that friendship, and that strengthens both of them. Is fascinating. The fact that they can look at both, they can do both stories, but then also make two very different movies. Like very, very, very different movies. Lilo and Stitch and How to Train Your Dragon are not the same movie, despite sharing that one element. Tonally, they're different. Humor is even different. They're both very funny, but the styles of humor are not the same.
Yeah.
And I find that utterly fascinating, especially in the sea of movies where it's about a child who makes a connection. Like we're just
there's another movie coming out later this year, right? Is it what's it called? Okomi. It's the one Willem Dafoe, and it's like a girl in a village, and it's literally I saw that trailer and I was like, it's just How to Train Your Dragon.
Right. Oh, that's right. And like that's right. That was an A24 film, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And then I was just talking to Andrew earlier today about Iron Giant, and of course there's E.T.
Oh, totally. Yeah.
It's a time-honored genre, but it's also like I think I think it's very clear if Sanders and DeBois are like smart enough filmmakers to go like it's a tradition. Doesn't mean you gotta literally make the same movie though. And these are not the same movie. They're definitely two very different movies, but it's fun. Yeah, we had to bring that up. It's like, no, it's kind of hard to ignore.
It's so very Hollywood of them. Hollywood saw the trend and they're like, well, we're bringing the trend back. Here it goes.
Doing it again.
But yeah, the training sequences are very fun.
Yeah, they're fun.
Different. That's where you really get to see the different types of dragons, learn their abilities. They have it where, what's his name? The Christopher Mintz-Plasse character.
Fish Legs.
Yeah.
Fish Legs.
Where Fish Legs is like a Dungeons and Dragons nerd.
Yeah.
Or like a Pokemon.
Like Pokemon.
Yeah, he's a Pokemon style nerd. Yeah.
Where he just starts rattling off facts about these dragons.
That's a very funny bit I want to point out, where he's just like going through each fact, and Gobbler is like, would you shut up? Shut up, dude. I got to do my thing.
And then the other two kids are twins.
Yes.
It's Rough Nut and Tough Nut. Yeah.
Yes.
Which that's a fun dynamic.
Yeah.
You have a kids movie, you put twins in there.
And then there's the Jonah Hill Viking,
where he's kind of like what's that? This is such an old reference. Reggie from Archie.
Oh my God! Yes.
Wow.
Oh my God! No, that's good. Snot loud. Snot loud. Yeah, it's not loud.
It's not loud, yes.
I was trying to figure out, like, there's got to be a character, like, correlation to, and you said it. I went, you're not wrong.
That's good, yeah.
It's pretty good.
Where he's, like, trying to take credit for everything, and, like, he doesn't really do anything.
Right. And he's trying to get the attention of Astrid and be like, right, Astrid? Isn't that?
Yes.
Yeah. So, but yeah, they go through the training, and then... Yeah, I like the first instance of something that Hiccup learned from Toothless coming into the dragon training.
The eel, right?
The eel.
Yeah.
I love that because everyone is completely baffled. They're like, wait a second.
Why does he have magic powers?
Did he just control that dragon?
No, Fish Legs does like the classic, but I always love this bit of somebody staring, mouth agape, and just dropping a thing.
Oh yes,
it's like what? just happened. And what's great about all this stuff of Hiccup, like taking the note from like, oh, okay, grass, that's interesting, or oh, okay, that little part under their neck, okay, is he's learning it, but also part of the reason he's kind of doing all this, so he can go back to Toothless. So it's like, oh yeah, class is done, right? Cool. Okay, bye guys.
Yeah, so he can get out of there. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's a little motivated
and as non-lethal a way as possible.
Yeah. So it's like he's learning all this stuff, applying it, but not to show off. It's clearly not even to show off. He's just going, I just want to go back to my buddy in the cove, and he's trying to figure out the fastest way possible. Whereas Astrid is looking and going, the hell is going on?
Yes.
It's like he doesn't even realize that doing all of this is making him look like the best choice to be the winner. You know, to be the to be the you get to kill the dragon at the end of the class.
Yeah, once he gets to that point, he's like, oh.
No, there's like, to jump to that last match, like Astrid's like, don't do your shit. I'm gonna take care of it. And Hiccup's like, you got it, not a problem. It's all you. he really doesn't want. Yeah, he really doesn't want to win.
Yeah. But he does.
He does. Well, no, I even love. This is when Stoic comes back from the first round of trying to find the lair, and you know they got their asses kicked. You can see it, and everyone's like saying like, oh well, you know, like congratulating him. And he's like, that would on what?
He thinks the way that it's worded at first, he thinks like they have kicked out Hiccup. Like Hiccup has left the island. And he's like kind of distraught.
He's gone, or he's like died.
Yeah.
He's kind of like, wait, why are you telling me like this?
Yeah, and then Gopper's like, well, you know, he's got to get away from his fans. Okay, now I'm really confused. And again, this goes into the scene of like Hiccup is this is actually like after the first flight, right? Like Hiccup's scene with Stoic.
Yeah.
Okay. So let's. I don't want to jump to that yet. Let's talk first flight.
The flight. Yeah. The
flight test.
I think is one of the visuals from this movie that is the most like stand out. What people think of when you think of How to Train Your Dragon, you think of the dragonfly.
Yeah.
And I think part of that is it's so it plays exactly into your imagination of what you think it would be, but it's also like so cool.
It's also
the way it's shot is very like semi first person-y as well.
Mm-hmm. They put you really,
and then you're almost like literally like you're in the driver's seat. Yeah.
It's also the moment, and Bethany, I wouldn't mind if you kind of like want to like add some extra notes on this. Notes. Is this is where like the John Powell score?
Oh yeah.
Like really shines. And
really kicks in.
It really kicks in, and this is where all of a sudden, like anytime I think of the How to Train Your Dragon score, I literally just think of this sequence. I have had it on my playlist. Just this track and maybe the last track before it goes into credits have been on my playlist for years. And and while I'm driving, and sometimes it starts playing Test Flight, I'm like, oh yeah, I'm in a good mood now. So, what is like Bethany, like with your experience of music and with Powell, what can you add in terms of why do you think this score, this chunk of the score in this scene really works?
Firstly, it's loud, which always helps.
True that.
As far as like nerdy musicalness goes, this is where you hear like the main theme of the movie. Like there's a theme for the themes in this movie are kind of loose, but like there's a theme for Hiccup and Toothless kind of being together, and that's what this main theme is. That's the theme that everybody thinks of.
Mm-hmm.
That's when it's kind of allowed to play in full force, and you've got, having seen the score, you've got electric guitars. It's very very post Hans Zimmer. John Powell used to work for and with Hans Zimmer, and then he eventually left to do his own thing.
Okay.
So electric guitars, bagpipes. Like Scottish military drums, so that's it, and it's a very Celtic score again because the Vikings are Celtic for some reason. And then I would say this is a fun music nerd fact. I would say your standard like brass size for recording like, you know, the Avengers or Star Wars or any sort of like big bombastic movie score, you're going to have maybe 6 horns, maybe an extra one, 7. Sometimes you just beef it up a little bit. 7 horns, maybe 3 to 4 trumpets, probably 4 trombones and a tuba. John Powell recorded 12 horns.
Oh God.
And he really beefed it up. And in test drive, you can definitely hear them kind of like just blasting through it. And also the way that he recorded this score which was not super common at the time. Every composer is different, but the way he did this was he took one day to record all the brass by themselves. He took one day to record usually strings and woodwinds, and then choir was separate, and then, you know, any of the other like fun stuff like bagpipes and guitars are very separate. And so doing that gives the score mixer, the ability to really control the volume. And what happens a lot of times is if you have too much brass, you're not going to hear the strings doing much at all, because strings can only play so loud, brass can blow the roof off. But with this, you can really like layer the strings in, so it's almost like even with the brass, and so then you just kind of have this wall of sound, but it doesn't sound bad. It's mixed in a way that it's super present. It's super like up in the mix, and then also obviously it's like a very, very well written melody. Very, very. It fits to the picture perfectly. It's that thing, you know, when you're playing it in your car, you know exactly what's happening when it's happening, because you're hearing it along with the visuals. So yeah. Thank you.
Wow. I actually literally didn't know a lot of that.
I could go further, but you know what? That's you don't have 3 hours.
No. No, but that's great. You're right. Like every time I play the song in my car, I'm like, okay, this is when Hiccup falls. This is when Hiccup.
This is where they fall.
This is when he says "fuck it." When he grabs the when he grabs the cheat sheet and went, you know what, fuck it, screw it, throws it behind him, and then this is where we're talking about the symbiotic relationship between him and Toothless. Is that like it's all instinct now. And he's able to fly, bank, barrel roll with Toothless, and it's just exhilarating.
He's turned off his targeting system.
He turned off his targeting system. Dun, 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 dun. Anyway.
But yeah, I mean, and it also plays into Hiccup as an inventor.
Yeah.
He sees what has happened to Toothless, that he has lost part of the tail fin, and because in the Viking society there is this idea of rebuilding your limbs with mechanical parts.
Yeah.
He's like, oh yeah, well, I could build a sail. I could put something there and allow him to fly again. But the way that it works is it has to be controlled by the rider.
Right.
So that is the whole thing of the cheat sheet, and learning how to fly him is totally different than I think someone, you know, later in the movie, other people get on dragons and it seems a little easier because you don't have to like go into shift into third gear in order to turn.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
The dragon just does it.
But it also, but it also does show like the kind of like, you know, like again, like it's a dependent, at the moment, it's a dependent relationship. You know, Toothless can't fly unless Hiccup is there, you know, and, there is some kind of like, it's one thing to go like, oh, he kind of behaves like him and the dragon. Let's say like Toothless didn't have the missing part of his tail, and the relationship was built on like maybe trust and etc. And that probably would have been fine, and it would have still maybe worked. But here it adds that extra bit of connection between the two, because Hiccup is helping him. Like I said, like it looks like Toothless is like this. You know, like a flailing animal who can't, you know, like that will probably die if he didn't figure out how to fly out of there. And here's Toothless giving him a chance to live. But, you know, this one hiccup is that he has to be the one on him at the moment, you know. So it becomes like, you can see Toothless going like, okay, this guy's helping me. Okay, then, you know, we're good. I don't have to bite his head or anything. He's eating the fish head too, so we cool. You know?
God.
But it all does come to a head. Oh,
the Stoic scene?
The Stoic scene.
That's a good scene.
Yeah, that's a good scene. Where they talk before the kind of finale.
Yeah.
He gives him the helmet.
Yes, yeah.
This one was about the
the breastplate.
One of his mother's breastplate. I have the other one.
Yes.
A matching set.
Matching set.
And it's the timing of him, like he's touching the helmet and then he says breastplate and the hand just ghosts off. He's like, no.
It's like, it's very, this beautifully touching moment when this belonged to your mother. Like, wow, it was her breastplate. Of course it is. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. But again, it goes back to the unfortunate thing about the relationship. The wavelengths are wrong. Stoic is so happy. He's so happy that his son is not a fail son anymore. And he's so giddy. Like, he's like scooting his chair closer. So what do you want to talk about?
Yeah.
And Hiccup has this the secret and went, I can't tell you literally anything. Actually, yeah, that's one of my favorite bits is like, after this is like, he literally is like, goes straight to Toothless like, we're leaving.
Yes. We have to leave.
We have to leave. Fuck this. Screw this. I'm not, And that's where Astrid catches up with him finally.
Yes.
Yeah. And the convincing Astrid is really, when they dangle her from a tree, which I'm like, how's that gonna convince? And then they do a little, I'll say a little Aladdin and Jasmine work, where it's
Aladdin
like,
and Jasmine, yeah.
See a whole new world with
first
me.
There's a lot of barrel rolls happening.
Yeah.
And to me, I really like this because this is obviously we've seen like Toothless's very cat-like personality kind of
right
up till this point, but it's just Toothless interacting with Hiccup because obviously nobody else is going to interact, and so this is Toothless. This is like your friend wingmanning you in the worst way possible, and you're like, please, I hate you so much. And it's Toothless having fun,
right?
And he really is. He's just like, oh, okay, we get to mess with this person. Great.
That's so good. So
I think
good.
that is an important point to bring up, which is that Toothless is like a cat more than any other animal, not just a generic pet or even a base. Like, look, people compare things to dogs all the time. Toothless is a cat. Which is, I think, such a great specific choice, and especially in showing all of their interactions and everything that Toothless does. Yeah, the cat qualities, even to the grass is like catnip.
Yeah,
like
they do the literal laser pointer joke.
Right.
Yep, laser pointer, catnip, and anytime he's up on the rock. I think the first time when Hiccup doesn't know where he is. He's doing his little shoulder shimmy.
Oh yeah.
He shimmies his way down and kind of like slinks around. Very Black Panther-y.
Right. That is, I mean, even the design of Toothless is that he's like sleek and black.
Yeah.
Like, and he has the expressive ears. It's all very, and I like that it's very specific cat.
Yeah.
It's such a great choice that I think has stuck with me ever since I saw it, where I'm like, that's how you do it. You really you're like, what are dragons? Yeah, they're cats.
Yeah.
Like, it totally works.
Detail I love with the ears is when it's during test flight and he keeps knocking into the walls or something. Toothless just like hits him in the face and Hiccup's like, sorry. Sorry, dude. Sorry, I'm figuring it out. Like, Toothless like, dude. Come on.
Yes.
But yeah, no, the flying around with Astrid, it's a little of a whole new world. It's a little Superman and Lois. It's a little
right,
yeah, very much so. And that's another very score present moment, like, because once he stops screwing around and they get up, it's literally just all score. I don't think there's any sound effects. There's no dialogue until they start talking at the very, very end.
It's very true.
It's a big moment.
It's a very big no, and it's again another moment for John Powell's music to really just shine. I think there's something that I think a lot about with current movies and how scores are sometimes buried in current movies, even blockbusters, is there's never a chance to let the music shine the way we used to. And this movie was 15 years ago, which is wild to think. But they knew at least when to, like, no, this is the moment you let the score play. You let everyone visuals tell the story, score is telling the story. We're good. They don't need to be handheld here,
And this is where they discover Toothless gets kind of caught up in a herd of dragons.
That's right.
That are returning to where they they call it the nest.
Right.
And they discover what happens there, which is that they're like delivering food for what they call it like a queen bee.
Right.
It has different. I think in Wikipedia they call it the Red Death. Like I don't think they ever name it in the movie, but
it was the Red Death at one point, and I think it ended up being the Green Death later. At least in the
and then if you watch
the scenes art book,
if you watch the sequels, they start calling it the Alpha. So the idea of like later on, there's the idea of the Alpha, which is the dragon that leads the other dragons.
And what's interesting here is that like this actually establishes the fact that like the reason the dragons were attacking the village wasn't like, again, mindless vicious creatures. They too were being told what to do. So that's kind of means that, oh shoot, there's an innocence to the dragons then. They're trying to survive, and the only way they can survive is agreeing to whatever this giant being they're obeying. You know?
say agreeing, and it's like if you don't bring it food, it eats you.
Yeah. No, not agreeing. It's like, but you know what I mean. It's like they're forced to.
Yes.
Yeah. So and that's why like all of a sudden it's like, oh wait, then they're not this like mindless vicious creatures that are just attacking anything in the way. It's like no, they're surviving too, and it's interesting when they come back. Astrid's like, we have to tell everybody. Yeah. It's right there. And Toothless and Hiccup is realizing, but that we haven't figured out what they're going to do with Toothless in that scenario. And I think a very important scene is like a very important moment is Astrid basically does this whole thing about like speech to him where she's like, you're going to literally disobey your family, our history, our tradition for your pet dragon. And he very staunchly, very simply goes, yes. And that is enough for Astrid to go, okay. Fair enough.
And I think the other idea is that Astrid is so smart that she sees what's happening here and she understands it very clearly. People in the village are not as smart as Astrid. So if you tell them, oh, the nest, there's a queen bee dragon and it controls the others, they'd be like, what are you talking about?
No.
What, you're showing us a dragon here? We're going to kill it. Yeah. Like, that's just...
Too used to it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they're too used to what they know. Yeah.
There's a scene I wanted to make sure to mention because it's not in the live-action remake. And I thought
I know what you're talking about.
It was quite a good little scene. I think it happens before this moment. They, Toothless and Hiccup are flying around and they land on a little side beach and other little like baby dragons are there.
Terrible.
That's right.
And they're trying, to steal the food, and Toothless is kind of playing with them. And one of them like just cozies up to Hiccup and curls up like a cat, and
like a very small cat.
A very small cat just falls asleep. And it's like that is like adding to the idea where he's like, these are not horrible creatures. Like they're just regular animals. Like something like they've completely misunderstood what dragons are. And I was like, that is such a good little scene because it shows it's not just his dragon. It could be any dragon. Like he just it's something. It's a whole perspective shift of like, wait, we thought this was our enemy. This is totally our assumption was completely wrong.
Right.
And there's a very important this movie to me is a masterclass in setups and payoffs. There's a very important setup in that scene because Toothless is screwing around with them, and then I think they start fighting each other. And then the one opens his mouth to like get ready to shoot a fireball, and then the other one just shoots a fireball. No, Toothless shoots a little fireball inside of him. He kind of like blows up like a balloon real quickly, for comedic effect. And Hiccup says, "Oh, not so fireproof on the inside."
Yeah,
they're fireproof on the outside. That was discussed in the Gobber training, et cetera, et cetera. But yes, on the inside they are not.
Yeah. So and that pays off later. Yeah, and that I noticed that this watch, especially because we'll get into it when you get into the second half. But I'm like, yeah, that is like important to know that he found that out somehow.
Yeah.
But yeah, so they have to go through the final fight, and Hiccup has come up with a plan, and he's told Astrid, I guess, but his plan is he's going to tame the dragon. It's the one that catches on fire.
Yeah,
I don't
yeah,
remember
yeah.
what that one's called.
The nightmare, monstrous nightmare.
Right, monstrous nightmare. He's like, well, I'm just gonna tame it. And
Mhm.
so when he gets in there, everyone's watching. I mean, his dad, everyone's watching. And he puts down. He grabs a dagger. The dagger moment's funny. Where his dad is. He's like, I would have grabbed a hammer, but okay. He lays down the dagger. He lays down the shield. And he goes and he does the hand touch on the head.
Mhm.
That's the big, taming a dragon thing.
Mhm.
And his dad is like, no, stop the training. Stop
Absolutely
everything.
not.
This is not happening. I don't know what he's doing. And, I think it is that mix of he thinks his son is in danger because he's not holding a weapon.
Yeah.
But then it's also he can't even accept what he's seeing.
Yeah.
It's like, no. Like, you need to kill this dragon.
Yeah.
There is no, whatever you're doing is, it's silly. Whatever you're doing is not right.
I even want to go back a little bit to Stoic's kind of speech before the ceremony begins.
Oh yes. Yeah.
And I feel like I was listening to an interview with Dean DeBlas recently, and even though he's actually talking about the remake, it's the same scene with the same actor, so I think it'd still be applied. Is that he brings up the fact that like there's an interesting thing about that scene in his speech is that it's like essentially his speech is kind of akin to a wedding speech. Like sort of
or like a bar mitzvah kind of.
Yeah.
Very much.
100%.
My boy becomes a man.
100%. There's a little teasing, a little joking at his son's expense, but there was like that's the vibe that Stoic is giving. Whereas we cut to Hiccup, and that is not what Hiccup is feeling, And there's a little bit of pointing at the fact that like Hiccup can take the jokes on him from other people. That's fine. He doesn't care. There is something a little hurtful hearing your dad do it though, and put a pin on that. Because but they still show a bit of like that hurt in Hiccup here, but yeah, there is something to that where he's like, and he knows he's walking out going, I'm just gonna disappoint him more, and that's the thing he knows it's gonna happen.
and I like that you brought that up because it's seeing Hiccup's relationship with his dad throughout the movie. He's never really angry at him, and if he's angry, it's always from a point of frustration.
Yeah,
it's never like you're a bad person and I hate you because you're doing these things. It's like you won't just listen for 2 seconds to what anybody else has to say. And it's his frustration at not being able to connect and talk with him and on that level.
Yeah.
And what Andrew was pointing out about the fight, which I really like, he throws away the dagger, he throws away the shield, and then the very big moment, at least, is he takes off his helmet, which his dad just gave him, which was his mom's, and then he says, I am not like them, and that's when his dad says, you knock it off right now.
Yeah.
That's true.
This is the dragon, of course, like the monster's nightmare is now kind of upset and kind of makes a big, like yell and scream. And that's when Toothless is realizing, oh no, wait, Hiccup might be in trouble. So he goes off to where they're at. And this is sadly the first scene that Stoic meets Toothless. And it's Toothless and this very aggressive version of him. Almost animalistic in his arrival, by almost accidentally kind of also knocking like Hiccup off, and it's again it's like like you make the joke, ooh, this is bad first impressions, but it is what it is though. It's exactly what that is. And the fact that like Hiccup's trying to defend the dragon already in a sea of offenses that he's already been doing in Stoic's eyes. Here's like one more, and it's like, okay, what the fuck is actually happening?
Yeah. And it's like him saying like, oh, don't kill the dragon. Don't kill the dragon. He's like, what? He's like, why are you even saying this? Like, oh my God.
Yeah.
And so that moment right after when they're walking into it, what is that? Like the Great Hall.
Yeah.
And he's like, so it was all lies and trickery. And it's like, well, yeah, I don't know. It's like, this is where I've had that thought where it's like, they never even considered, the Vikings never even considered, well, we can learn a way to trick the dragons. Like all of their tactics are just head on.
Yeah.
Like
just brute force.
yeah,
Yeah.
Force,
if
yeah.
they're coming to us, we're throwing fireballs at them.
Mhm.
And then even Stoic has this idea of I will find the nest and destroy it. And so
Yes,
they
yeah.
send out they go out on their boats and they can never find the nest and they lose a boat every time. You know, it's one of these like they're just striking it and they don't ever come at it from an intellectual angle. It's almost funny to think what Viking sat down and wrote the book that they do have, because they do have a book like an encyclopedia, and even the three of the kids that are there to learn are like reading. I don't read. Like
Yeah.
Put a pin on that.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's funny to think of this society where it's just like you guys are not going to make it. You're up against it's like you've survived by luck alone that you have not been taken out.
Yeah.
But that's where he finds out, Stoic finds out that the nest exists and that Toothless can take them there.
Yeah.
So he ties Toothless to the front of the boat and has Toothless guide him. And Toothless isn't doing it, on purpose, so to speak. And it's like instinctual, I'm looking the direction, I'm smelling the air, like that's the way that Stoic is steering the boat with Toothless at the head of it.
Yeah.
And I think this scene's really cool when they actually get to the nest, the Vikings, and they blow open that wall.
Yeah, yeah.
And that fireball flies through,
so
lights up, shows all the hundreds of dragons.
Just at the entrance.
At the entrance. And it's like a random cave that they opened. And then
Yes.
Stoic comes in with his axe and hits all the dragons just fly past him.
Yeah.
And they're like, did we win? Did we capture the nest?
Hey.
Yay, we did it.
But it's like so cool visually. I was like, dang, that is really cool. Yeah.
Also loved Gobber's joke about like so they're going by one boat, and he's like, well, that's where that went.
I was wondering where that went.
Of course, like Hiccup is still back at home, and we have another scene with him and Astrid, and this is kind of the whole like, all right, your best friend's captured, it's your fault, and he's like, geez, thanks, okay, anything else you want? But then Astrid's trying to like talk him up. It's like, hey, so what do you want to do now? And Hiccup has the wild plan of getting the dragons that they do have and basically teaching how he trained to the rest of the guys in what I'm assuming is a very quick class.
Yes.
It's funny. I got an interesting thing to comparison, but I was rewatching Princess Bride last night. And one of the things that I'm going to bring up is the fact that like, sometimes, logic in a movie, even like in a fantasy movie like this, is that like, and I'm not talking like logic about magic realism or anything like that. I'm talking about logic even in character stuff. And part of the thing is like with Princess Bride, by the time you get near the end, you want Inigo and Fezzik to team up with Wesley. You want that. You really do. You want them to go. You want them to help him, and the movie's running out of time. There's not a lot of time left for them to team up. So you want that to happen as fast as possible because you like all three of them, and there's enough buildup in their interactions to go, oh, they can be friends. They can be friends. So here it's like you do want the rest of the kids to start flying dragons. You do want the rest of the kids to help Hiccup, fly back, get Toothless, save their family and their tribe. So we're going to have to skip some logic, and some of the logic is how long it should probably have taken for them to learn all the tricks and to fly and to steer and to, but also
I'll respond to that with like, you do, it does kind of end up for a comical thing when, when all the kids show up and Toothless and Hiccup are pretty confident in what they're doing, and everybody else is like, It's pretty jerky movements, but they're kind of it's like it's like when you were like 15 getting your learner's permit, like hitting the gas too hard. You're like, oh, okay, all right, I think I know how to do this.
It is also kind of one of those, we probably should have seen it coming bits with the dragons that like, oh, the dragons the kids end up picking are the dragons that reflect them the most. So like, no offense, fish legs, but you're gonna get a Gronkle or like Tough Nut or Rough Nut. You're getting the twin-headed dragon because
the twin-headed dragon.
Yeah,
and then the very prickly dragon goes to Astrid.
Yeah, exactly. So it's like everyone sort of gets their matching personality dragon. But yeah, like I said, like you even though it's a good point, Bethany, that like, oh, like they're still kind of not learning. They're still kind of like the beginning, like, beginning driving car day one style. They are learning fairly quickly in a very short amount of time. But also, again, like I said, but you want that. You want them to get over there. You want them to save them in time. So don't worry about logistics of, shouldn't have taken it. Who cares? we got to get to the fireworks factory.
And they do get there.
They do. They do
get there. And the Stoic essentially awakens the big boy.
The big bad.
Comes out of the ground and bigger than ever.
Yeah.
Just a ginormous dragon. And Fish gets he's like, what are the stats on this thing? And he's like trying to look at it.
Pokemon trainer time. It's time to go, dude. What do you got?
Yeah, exactly.
And I like all the little interactions here, like the Snotlout gets stuck on the top and hits it in the eye. Yeah. One of the 6 eyes or whatever.
Yes.
And then even Astrid's in trouble for a second, but then gets caught. But they go flying, and then freeing Toothless. Yeah. So Toothless is still tied up to a ship, and all the ships are now on fire. And when Hiccup gets over there, he can't force open the locking mechanism. Yeah. And then they get hit and the ship sinks, and now Toothless is underwater, tied up. And who comes to the rescue? It's his dad. Yep. His dad saves him and then goes down and frees Toothless.
An important detail about going down and save Toothless is he doesn't question it.
Yeah.
He goes immediately. It's like already that's the first sign of he's accepting Toothless in their situation, in their lives. He's like, I'm not even confirming with my son. He's safe. I got to get the dragon. And one of my absolute favorite bits about it is not just like once he frees Toothless, Toothless immediately flies him back out. But there's that awesome shot of Toothless. He drops the Stoic down, lands, big bad dragon in the background, turns his head and looks at Hiccup, almost going, "You ready?" And I'm like, "Oh, that's so cool!" And the music swells up, and Hiccup's like, "On my way, buddy." I went, "Oh hell yeah, let's go!"
This is so good.
This is so cool.
Oh yeah. Oh yes.
Even though Hiccup does not have a killer instinct, he is like a tactician.
Yeah.
Oh, very much.
He has it figured out where he's like, okay, I'm going to draw the big bad away from everyone. He's like, let's see if it can fly. What can it do? It starts flying. He's like, okay, I'm going to take it straight up, and then I'm going to stop. I'm going to destroy its brakes.
Yeah.
Take it straight back down. That's, pretty tactical.
Pretty tactical. And and also establishing that Toothless's fire breathing is these really cool burst of sonic boom energy looking thing.
Yeah, like blue flame.
Yes.
It's every other dragon has a red flame, and his is blue.
Yeah. This is just a really cool little visual detail. So when once he shoots in the dragon's mouth, it's okay, that did the job.
Yeah.
We get a Jaws times 100 level explosion with the Red Death. But of course it leads into Toothless and Hiccup falling, and even though we do get the mild psych out of is Hiccup alive?
It's a kids movie,
movie. Yes, the answer is yes.
We need that moment though.
But I do like that, I do like the fact that Gobber, Gobber's well, most of them is here. And that's the first sign of uh-oh, wait, what? And I see there's something really daring. You just said it's a kid's film, family film, but there is something really daring about injuring your lead like that. Your kid, Kiro, coming out, losing a limb, and now having a prosthetic, and that, and that's kind of sad in its own way, but also makes him, well, a Viking. Because he...
Yes.
And even, I mean, his the challenge to become the Viking was to kill a dragon.
Yeah.
Well, he killed the biggest dragon you've ever seen. Kind of did it.
And Astrid did say, like, it's only cool if you have a scar. If you kind of do it, if you like fight a dragon. It's like, well.
Well, and to your point, just about how kind of daring it is. I like how the movie could have easily kind of blown it off for laughs.
Yeah.
When he wakes up, he's like, "Oh no, where's my foot?" Ha ha ha. But they treat it so like tenderly and seriously, and he wakes up and he just kind of has to reckon with the fact that his life is very, very different now.
Yeah. No.
Physically and with everything else going on. But and it's just him. You can see him just sort of like coming to terms with that. It's a really, really well done moment.
It's very realistic, because he realizes, my body weight, I have to figure that out now. Like I don't, like how do I find balance? Like what's going on? And then he opens the door and he's like, okay, I died, right?
Yes, yeah, I'm dead now.
I'm dead now. And then we find I do love that we find out that Gobber's the one who clearly was the one who made the prosthetic leg, saying like, I add a little bit of Hiccup flair. I always loved Hiccup's little deep line of, I could tweak it.
Yeah,
I could do some tweaks. I always joke in my brain that Garbage was like, you ungrateful little shit.
Yes.
Yeah. But yeah, that's it.
I actually love the last bit of the score where he hooks his foot into the new saddle.
Oh, yeah.
He looks around and like the new narration of the new status quo, and I probably I'm not gonna lie, out of bored days, I will just watch that last scene.
Nice. It's a pretty good pick me up.
It's a pretty good pick me up. Yeah. There you go. And then cue the Sigur Rós music. And
yes.
So yeah, we talked a lot about that movie. It's really good.
Look, I don't want to, but even as all that, I don't love the movie. I wish I loved the movie like I see other people love the movie. I think, it's very well done.
Yeah.
I can't fault it for anything. I'm like, structurally great, good structure.
Yeah.
Script, good, very funny. I think part of my problem comes from the idea of like, this is a society where it's like they don't have an empathy for an animal. I'm like,
and you as a person, like,
that's a fair point.
What's wrong with you? And then one of them is like, should we have empathy for animals? And they're like, no. I'm like, nah. I'm like, okay, whatever. I don't know. I think I get hung up on that point, especially.
Fair.
Okay.
But yeah, I think Toothless is cute. Love the cat dragon. That's a great concept. I love it. But yeah, it's it's almost like you can see why they'd want to remake it.
So, well, we'll get back. We'll take a little break, and then we'll talk about this entire thing all over again.
Alrighty.
But with a fraction of the time.
To all who come to this happy podcast, welcome.
Anna Musings are your musings.
Here age relives fond memories of the past.
And here youth may savor the challenge and promise of the future.
Hi, I'm David.
And I'm Kayla.
And if it wasn't readily apparent from that, we're huge nerds about Disney. That's why we're doing the Anna Musings podcast.
Once a month, we'll sit down and talk about a film in detail from the Walt Disney Animation Studios filmography, covering them in chronological order, from Snow White to Moana and beyond.
To Moana and beyond!
Sweetie, we're not doing Pixar yet. We'll do that after.
And that's gonna be a long time coming. Anyway, if that sounds up your alley, come join Kayla and I, and maybe a guest or two, as we explore the Disney animated canon, film by film.
With the hope that it'll be a source of joy and inspiration to all the world.
Ooh, nicely said.
Don't thank me, thank Walt.
All right, before we land back on the Isle of Berk, please make sure all your tray tables are in the upright position. And enjoy this preview of our Patreon episode.
I wouldn't mind if Brad Bird announced a new Iron Giant.
Oh,
I wouldn't mind that. I think if Brad Bird said, "Hey, I'm going to do the live action adaptation of my Iron Giant," a movie that I consider to be one of my all-time favorite movies, but again, I don't trust anyone else. If Bird says I have a take, I'm like, all right, well, I'm open to that. Sorry, the in-flight snacks. I'm not sure if these are actually rocks or actual peanuts. I can't tell. Anyway, if you want to listen to the rest of that episode, along with our many years of Patreon-only exclusive episodes of the show, you can easily donate just $1 a month to our Patreon. You get years and years and years of original, just streaming only on Patreon episodes. We've done so many topics, like doing basically an episode of this show, but only on Patreon. We've done pitches of our own remake ideas, general new discussions that are only done on Patreon. But if for 1 month you go, hey, Justin, Andrew, I want you to cover these two movies, you're in luck. There is a tier for that for $25 for 1 month. You can control the show and tell us what episode to make. And again, I've always stressed, we've gotten actually a lot of really good episodes from this. So, if you're looking at our category and if you're looking at our library and you go, you didn't cover that yet. Well, you can tell us to cover it and you can spend us the $25, send it our way. We'll cover it. So there he is, $1 a month. You get a special new episode. Or for $25 for that 1 month, you control the show. Before we go, we're almost landing on Burke, and the wind is insane up here. Bethany, can you tell the folks where they could find you and any kind of upcoming projects you may want to let the folks know about?
Sure. You can find me in all of the social things at Bethany Brinton, spelled just like it sounds. And the thing that's taking up my time most currently, and that I'm most excited about, is I am the arranger on a musical called The Tears of La Llorona, or Las Lágrimas de la Llorona in Spanish. We are premiering as part of the SheLA Theater Festival. It's going to be at the Zephyr Theater in West Hollywood. And we have shows the evening of July 9th, July 12th, and then we have a matinee on July 13th. So I hope you all come out to see that. If you just look up SheLA Theater Festival, you'll find it right there. You can get tickets.
Awesome. Also, if you are a patron, or you haven't joined Patreon yet, Bethany was in our episode when we did our panel at WonderCon.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's right. This we did that back in, was it March? Yeah, March. We did the WonderCon panel, the same old songs, musical remakes. You and Joy Reggiano and Alex Catherine was moderating. Joined us for that panel. That was a great discussion. We talked a lot about I forgot exactly the details. It's been for several months, but that was a really great discussion and a lot of fun we had that day. You can check that out on Patreon as well. Okie dokie. We landed. Everyone's fine.
Yeah.
And boy, this island looks so familiar.
That's weird. It's like I've been here before.
It's just got more detail and it's a little dirtier.
This is I guess we haven't encountered this. This is the
first time
closest, like, beat for beat, word for word remake that we have covered.
And this is the first time one of the directors of the animated film went and did the live action movie. This is it's a lot of people can confirm not done before. This has never been the case. There have been remakes of the original director doing the other version, but in terms of animation to live action, this is in fact the first time. With the exception of the fact that Chris Sanders is not a part of this. It's now entirely Dean DeBlas. And to be fair, he's kind of just been the series. He's been the franchise. He's written all of them. He's directed all of them.
He did 2 and 3 without Sanders.
Yes.
Yeah, he did 2 and 3 on his own.
Yeah. Even though like Sanders is like still credited and vice versa, I seen DeBlas is like still like a credit producer on Sanders pictures as well. How to Train Your Dragon 2010 was the last time they co-directed. So this was interesting situation when they announced this movie. I actually remember the year they announced it, and my reaction is, what? Didn't we just finish the trilogy? So I wasn't sure, to be honest. Even with his announcement of him directing, I'm like, well, at least you got him, but I don't know. Like, I don't know. I didn't know. I didn't know how to feel about it, to be very, 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 very honest. Everyone here, what do you?
Bethany, how did you feel?
I just had an immediate, oh no. But again, that's because this film is so precious to me, and you know, all of that stuff. And you know, I don't know if I'm great for this podcast because I'm not a huge remake person.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not really into the sort of trend. You know, I love the original Lilo and Stitch as well. Did not see the Lilo and Stitch remake.
Mm-hmm.
To me, it's just I don't know. It's more of the same, but lesser. and I can talk about this now, or I can talk about this later if you want. But particularly with the, you know, we're taking an animated thing and making it live action.
Mm-hmm.
You know, whether or not we can include the Lion King thing, and that remains to be discussed. But
I'm gonna bring up Lion King, so it means anything.
do it. To me, as a person who loves animation, like, you know, I think my Letterboxd top 4 is currently all animated films. It just feels like one more, like, you know, chipping away at the thing that, like, animation isn't for adults.
Yeah.
Animation is for kids. Now we've made the real version that adults can enjoy, you know, as opposed to, like, having to have an excuse to go see an animated film because it's just for kids.
Yeah.
And that's my largest problem. but my reaction to seeing, like, oh, they're doing How to Train Your Dragon and you know, live action. Firstly, you know, after that immediate oh no, I was like, is Jeffrey Katzenberg still at DreamWorks? Because this feels like a very Jeffrey Katzenberg move. Ticket to Disney.
Let me check his Quibi. Hold on.
yeah, let's go check. Oh, rough.
But yeah, it definitely does feel like a lot of these where it's like, oh yeah, it's the live action version. And it's like, well, the dragons are still CGI.
Yeah,
like we're pretending
yeah.
we're pretending that CGI is not an animated medium. Like
Right.
it's so bizarre to me where it's like, yeah, like I had read that, like, on set they had, like, puppets, and it's like, well, that's to help the actors.
Right.
They're never going to make it to the final cut because I'm sure they're not screen ready. You know, it's they're like the most basic version of getting the size and proportions right.
Right.
But, you know, it's like, and unless you just had puppets, like it's barely live, you know, it's live action in name only.
Yeah.
Right.
Which is where the
Lion King
thing comes in, where it's like,
yeah, exactly.
it's
What are we doing
mimicking
here?
it's mimicking live action. It's like, what if a lion did this? And it's like, but it wouldn't talk. Like you can't pretend, you know.
Where do we draw the line?
Yeah,
Right.
exactly.
No, I feel like we have to cut to the chase. So I'm gonna I'm gonna do a circle of everybody and just a quick, don't explain. We'll go explain in a little bit, but right now I just kind of need to know: did you even like this? Yes or no? Andrew?
Yeah.
Okay. Bethany?
On the whole, I'm gonna say no, but I'll give it a meh.
Give it a meh. Okay. I liked it as well.
Okay.
But I get it. I get your meh. I want to be so clear. Not only do I respect your meh, I get your meh.
That's fair.
I mean, I debated with myself the idea of, is this actually lesser, or is it just, you know, it hits all the same beats.
Yeah.
It has the same dialogue. It has Gerard Butler's back. Like, you know,
it's John
the director's
Powell again.
the John Powell is back.
It's John Powell again.
Roger Deakins
helped out.
he came back essentially.
Yeah. But Bill Pope is the DP, and I love Bill Pope.
Right. It's a lot of like craziness like that where it's like it's kind of the same thing more than any other remake that we've covered.
Yeah.
Where it's like they really just said, do the same thing. And I can't, you know, to my mind, I can't fault it so much. the main kid, don't really care for him. He's no like, come on, you can't beat. Jay Baruchel has a certain tone where in an animated film he sounds exactly correct for this. And this new kid is, I'm like, who is
Mason?
this? What are they doing? Yeah.
Yeah.
But other than that, I'm like, everyone else is pretty good.
Yeah.
Pretty spot on.
I'll defend Mason. I actually really like him. I genuinely really liked him in the movie. I kind of liked that he was a blend of Barchel's performance and like kind of his own take on it. Kind of unpin one thing. I actually the scene of Stoic going back to the kind of the bar mitzvah speech.
Yes. Yeah.
I actually think that was probably one of a strong case of, okay, this is where a live action film takes the same scene but slightly does it a little differently. I actually like Mason's quiet like performance in that scene while Stoic is talking about him. I felt his emotion in that. I kind of felt it was even stronger there than the 2010 film.
Yeah, I would say so.
And I actually kind of like, I felt his performance in that scene really sold that Hiccup is going to do the most disappointing thing in his father's life in front of him, and I really bought it.
Yeah.
So I will defend Mason for that scene alone. But here's the thing. I'm going to bring up Lilo and Stitch, the remake. I'm going to bring up the Lion King remake. And this is where I find myself fascinated by this situation that we are in with this new movie. Like Lion King, this movie is almost beat for beat the same movie. Okay. But yet I hated Lion King.
Yeah.
Whereas I walked out of this going, oh no, I still like this. Whereas Lilo and Stitch try to change too much in the remake. Mm-hmm. And that, as you can literally hear our episode, we all said that only hurt it. That made it worse. Like the things you did with Jumba, the things you added, the getting rid of an antagonist to make it someone else. Like this stuff does not work. Everyone online is debating about the choice they did with Nani. It's like,
yeah.
Like, and again, it proves the original film totally works without the tinkering. So then it brings the question, so why are we doing it again? So what I caught myself doing with the remake is realizing at a certain point, because I knew the movie pretty well, also to give it a fair shot, I actually didn't do the rewatch of the original before the remake. I haven't seen the original in a while. So I gave this the most fair shot I could, which is I haven't seen the original movie in a couple years. I'm just going to watch this first. But even then, because I knew the movie so well, I was like, then the training sequence is going to happen. But then I caught myself kind of started to look forward to how they're doing certain scenes. Kind of the very highfalutin way of looking at it is like, it's kind of like if I watch a new version of a Broadway play that I've already seen before with a new cast.
Sure, yeah.
And I kind of was like, oh, how's this new cast going to do that scene? Mm-hmm. Like, or how are they going to perform it? Any different, a little better, a little, whatever. I kind of caught myself doing that with this movie at a certain point. I went, oh, test fight's coming up.
Yeah.
How you doing test flight? I will say, let's unpin one bit though. You both brought up a very good point, and as I was rewatching the movie today, I'm watching the scene with the little dragons. I went, whoa, wait, they took that out. So what can you guys add on the, like, why do you feel like they took it out, and does it hurt the movie, or etc.?
I don't know why they took it out. To be quite honest, I thought it was like such a good little scene. I also, Justin, watched in the way that you did. I watched the live action one first. I usually do that because I want, like you said, I want to give it a chance.
Right. Yeah.
I don't want it to be, I have the original in my brain and I'm only comparing. I want to say, let's give you a chance and then we compare later.
Yeah.
But it was definitely, I had forgotten about that little dragon. So yeah, I'm watching it and I go, oh wow, this is totally not in the remake. Mm-hmm. And oh, this is like kind of important.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know what exactly, I don't know what exactly that choice was. Yeah. Maybe they couldn't get the look right of the little dragon nuzzling up to new Hiccup. I don't know.
They, like, timing wise, it could be a cut thing. Maybe like they added a bunch of stuff concerning like the book all upon that. The original book of how to fight dragons. That's a lot of new stuff that's in this movie.
Mm-hmm. And I think they also another thing that they added where I think they cut some stuff. They gave the kids a little more character.
Yeah.
I think going down the line, they started with Astrid, where they really built her up as like they explained she says it at one point where she's like, I came from nothing.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, oh, that was new.
Yeah.
That's a new idea.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I like that a lot more, where it's like she's looking at Hiccup and saying, you're having everything handed to you. I had to work for this.
Because Hiccup's a Nepo baby.
Yeah. and Hiccup doesn't want to be a Nepo
No,
baby.
yeah,
like
sure.
he's like, I hate this. And
He's
so
like, that's fair. Okay,
No.
sure.
Yeah, that's true. He does have the vibe of correct. I am a Nepo baby, and I really resent it.
yeah, which I was like,
Yeah.
that helped Astrid for me a lot
Mhm.
in this remake. I actually like that character choice.
Mhm.
And then even with Snotlout, they had
They expanded his relationship with
yeah,
his dad.
where it's like his dad's disappointed in him too. But yeah, it's I think in adding those things, they did have to make cuts somewhere.
Yeah.
There's another scene that's not in the remake where, for some reason, Hiccup
I know
has
what
to
you're talking
bring. Yeah, he has to bring Toothless into the town.
Oh, I remember. Yeah, that's right.
He gets they have an accident and his thing gets like welded to the saddle, so he's
Oh.
essentially like cannot untether himself from Toothless, and that's a nice fun. Again, setups and payoffs. That's a nice fun moment in the original because he has to like go to the blacksmith shop to get the tool to unhook him.
Yeah.
Toothless is like rooting around. He sees a sheep. He's like going crazy and he has to be quiet.
Mhm.
Astrid almost catches them. Astrid's like, why are you being the weirdest human being that's ever been? and then they fly off and nothing happens. But then the payoff is at the end,
Mhm.
and he literally says the same line. I think he wakes up, after having almost died, and he goes, "Oh, you're in my house. Oh no. Oh, okay, we can't have you here. We tried this once. It really didn't work." So yeah, those were the two I would say biggest changes, and then. One thing I did change, or one thing that I kind of appreciated about the live action,
Mhm.
which in the animated movie you can definitely tell was probably in there, and then they edited a whole storyline out, was the addition of like the elder and the elder's
Yeah.
relationship to the tribe.
Yeah.
Because literally in the live action, in the animated movie, at the very end, he's like, "Oh, the elder's gonna decide who wins," and we're like, "Oh, I didn't know you had one. Cool." But here she's kind of like woven in throughout, and I did like that kind of like sort of neat tying up of that little like storyline.
Yeah, and they kind of make her a little bit. They kind of give her a more interesting design,
Mhm.
and they give her. I forgot what's the name of the counting tool.
The
Oh, the
yeah,
abacus.
They gave her an
I
abacus.
do think it's funny that she's got an I'm like, wait, is math witchcraft?
And then she's.
That would explain a lot about Andrew's problem with this.
And then the elder's like looking around. Shh. Yeah.
They're like,
More
she's
points for Hiccup.
yeah,
I-
she's counting. That's a spell.
I think this is kind of where keeping the original director does help it, because it's one of
Yeah.
those things where it's like, again, I've been hearing this a lot where like especially with adaptations of like a comic book to a TV show, and they keep the comic book creator involved in the TV show or a movie,
Yeah.
is that they look at this as an opportunity to go, hey, I didn't nail it the first time. So if I'm doing this again, this is my third draft. I get a chance to say, oh, we never got to do that. That bothered me. Well, if I got to do it again, well, I'll do it here. And those are why I feel like a lot of the changes are subtle and small, and it's mostly the same movie with the exception of some more tinier beats. Actually, there's a bit I like. It's the same with Hiccup telling Gobber, like, I just want to be just like you guys. They added this little bit with Gobber outside. Nick Frost again, top tier casting. That's a great. I was at Disney World, and I saw the announcement of Nick Frost as Gobber. I went, well, fuck, that's actually really goddamn good. But like, there's this bit where after Hiccup says like, I just want to be like you guys, he closes the door. They stay on Gobber, and he goes very, very quiet, like, I know. And it's like, I like that just a little bit of he gets it, and he loves the kid, but he doesn't know how to like get him in the right path, but like he's trying. And that little bit of I know is like such a nice little bit of add-on for the character, and a great little bit to give to Frost. It's interesting to also going back to the training bit. Like they changed certain elements Like instead of just grass, they changed it to kind of those.
It's like a daffodil or something?
Yeah.
A dandelion.
Dandelion.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it was like a sneezing thing.
My only thought was, I'm like, is catnip too much of a similar thing to like drugs? Like why? I'm really confused as to why they changed that. But I mean, sure. Good for them.
Yeah, there were little things like that where I was like, well, now the dragons, it's not cat enough.
Mm-hmm.
Like they still keep all the mannerisms of Toothless, but it's like removing the catnip, and there's like some other very minor things where I'm like, they're making him more like just a generic like dog-like or animal, pet-like. Yeah.
You're a cat person, sounds like.
I like all animals, but I like a specific choice where it's like we're gonna make like the dragon's
cats.
Yeah. And it's like that's cool.
Yeah.
Like you don't see that like that kind of choice.
That's true. That's true.
It's pretty cool. True. The other, I mean, there were other little very like you're saying, it's all so small, the little things, but it's like when the Gronkle was, I can't even remember the name of it. I love it so much, but the Gronkle, it's like
it's funny. You keep saying I keep forgetting, but you're nailing it every time. It's a Gronkle.
Because I'm thinking this can't be right.
This can't be the correct collection of consonants.
With the training with the Gronkle, they do a thing where Gobber has his prosthetic hand is a rock.
Yeah.
And we see that Gronkles eat rocks.
Yeah.
So that's
that was really clear.
He uses that to get him back in his cage.
Yeah.
Whereas in the animated one, it was like, I think just a regular hook hand. Like he just grabs him.
Yeah, it's just like a hook.
But I love that idea of like, he's like, okay, I got to get my rock hand because we're doing Gronkle training.
Yes.
That was pretty good.
And they called it the Trial of the Flame, instead of it just being like, whatever, who gets to kill the dragon.
Right.
And then one thing, I understand why they did this, but it still kind of bothers me that they felt the need to make a point of it. So and it first kind of comes up in the big in Stoic's big meeting when with the tribe, and he's saying we got to go after the nest. Everybody's complaining they don't want to do that. Yeah. And then he walks around the room and says, "Oh, you came from the Far East, and you came from the Silk Road." And I think he says you came from Blah Land when he speaks to the very African-looking individual, and I kind of went, "Okay, all right." And I guess and again, I think the obvious point they're trying to make here is like, hey, it's okay if our Vikings aren't all white.
Yeah.
Great, that's fine. I felt like they should have just done it, and nobody should have said anything about it.
Yeah. That's fair.
It felt a little too like pointed to me. But if it was just there, they had Vikings of all sizes, shapes, and colors. I think it's 2025. I don't think anybody has a problem.
And I would have even argued that like if you need to call it out, I would just kept it simple and have him just say like like we come from all lands, and that's fine.
Yeah, but then
if you want to mention it,
Yeah, and the thing that bothers me about that though is like, because then he keeps going like, we're Vikings, but I'm like, but are you? You had a bunch of people just like come join your gang, and aren't Vikings notoriously like combative? I felt like it would have been better if they just hadn't said anything at all.
Fair. Okay.
Because he kept saying we and we and we. I was like, all right, fine.
It's fair enough. Yeah,
they're fantasy Vikings, It's like,
yes, they're British Vikings. They're British.
They're still British Vikings,
I can't even remember. This is, I mean, again, to my point where I did not care for Mason, whatever his name was he doing an accent? I can't even remember.
No, he was basically essentially doing what Jay did, which is he's keeping his American accent.
Okay.
And kind of
mannerisms and such, yeah.
Yeah. And he throws in a couple of deliveries that they're definitely Barshell like.
Oh yeah.
Very, I'm like, oh, it's almost again, it's like anybody who plays like Mark from Rent. It's like, I'm sorry, you're just doing Anthony Rapp. It's like everybody's like, I have to just do an Anthony Rapp impression. No one changes Mark from Rent if they're doing Rent. Which I'm like, I'm not saying it's good. I'm just saying it's just Jay leaves such a shadow.
But then I think every other kid was British.
No,
like every other person
they were all American.
Nico had Nico had an American accent.
All right.
I think all the kids were American.
I think the only one who might have had an accent.
There was the Kiwi
Yes,
that was
him.
Fish legs, but he was Americanizing his accent.
That's true. And I think Snot Loud had an American accent.
I think they're all British actors, though. That's what I was just so hung up on.
Maybe?
I was like, I was just like, this is such a weird. I mean, maybe this plays to what you're talking about, Bethany, where it's like, why do we have to call out like we come from everywhere? And it's like, just it's fantasy Vikings, like whatever, like just let them be. Yeah. And
one thing, speaking of to the our new leads, our Astrid and our Hiccup. Speaking to the 2010ness of How to Train Your Dragon, I was like, oh wow, I remember when all the kids in high school had that haircut.
Oh sure.
And seeing that very Justin Bieber era,
heavy bangs,
mop thing
big
on
old
his head, I was like,
swoop.
"Whoa!" Seeing that in live action in this day and age is very interesting.
It is very.
It's jarring.
It's jarring because I'm like,
it's jarring.
You're being truthful to the design. I get it, but also, whoo.
Yeah. I think both of the leads did a great job. Again, when you're doing the same thing, it's kind of hard to not change it.
Yeah.
But I really didn't see any chemistry whatsoever between Hiccup and Astrid.
Yeah, I can agree with that.
And I think it's not even because of the actors. I think it's suffering because they were like going beat for beat, timing for timing.
Mm-hmm.
It's almost like a technical exercise at that point.
Right.
So I think that's where that kind of suffered.
Actually, I realized Nico. This is actually Nico's second time on our show.
Dumbo.
She was in Dumbo.
Yes,
she was in the Dumbo. She was in the Dumbo.
Oh, she was in Dumbo.
Yeah, she was in the Dumbo remake. So she's got a history with flying animals, apparently.
All right, flying animal remake.
Flying animal remake. She has a history of
and
that.
She is, and we already brought up Nepo babies. She is Tandy Newton's daughter.
She is Tandy Newton's kid. That's one of those where you're like, what? Oh,
yeah, you see it immediately.
Yeah, exactly.
Immediately.
Oh.
Like,
okay.
Yeah, I see. She should have been brought back for a Mission Impossible sequel and been like, hey, remember my mom? And then Ethan will be like, uh-oh. Dun, 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 dun. Anyway.
There's still time.
There's still time.
Well, actually, the ticking clock. The ticking clock is ticking.
Okay.
Lord.
So this is where it's interesting, Andrew, for me. Again, it's like Lion King failed because it's the same movie.
Well, you say failed to us.
Me. But I know it did a lot of money. No. I get that. But okay, I get that. But here's the thing, right? I had way more enjoyment with this than Lion King.
Yes.
And the fact that this is also making a decent amount of cash, it's this weird conflict I'm having where I'm like, it's like what, like, it's like, do we want it to be the same thing? Do we want him to hit the beats? Do we want him to do the thing? But then when they do stray away, it's never good enough. Like I look at Lilo, quite literally, this is the time to do this talk. Lilo and Stitch came out the same year, and it doesn't do the same thing. And it completely doesn't work in that regard. It's okay at best, but it did. I left the theater going, oh, it's fine. I left the theater with this one going I actually weirdly liked it, even though it is the same movie.
Well, it's you think of you go to see an old musician and they're playing their new stuff, and you're like, I don't know. Then they play the hits. Then they play the hits.
That's a really
it's a very good way of putting it.
And you're like, I love the hits. Play all of your hits,
Andrew.
Yes.
Andrew.
Yeah, no, that's pretty much it. Yeah.
Perfect. You nailed that. That is, I've never thought of it like that, but you're totally right.
I think that's why it worked for me.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's hitting all the things that I liked about the original.
Yeah.
Without straying so far as to be absurd.
Yeah. Stokes not the bad guy at it for no good reason. In this movie.
And then even if you look at, what they could have done, I'm sitting there, the credits start to roll, and I'm like, are they going to do a teaser? Because we know in How to Train Your Dragon 2, the mom comes back. Yeah. That's the big thing in the second one.
And they definitely dropped a lot of hints, way more hints in this movie than they ever did in the animated one about, oh, well, your mom and da-da-da-da-da.
And your mom's gone. They don't say dead. They say gone. Yeah.
I mean, this is also a case where it's like, you could probably also bring back Cate Blanchett.
So I thought there was, going to be a credits teaser,
Yeah.
and there was not. So I'm like, they're even withholding. They're like, they have restraint.
That's true.
I'm like,
that's true.
shocked by that, because even
Okay.
like we haven't officially
We're
covered
we've been. Yeah, go ahead.
the
go ahead.
2016 Ghostbusters.
We have not.
But
no.
even that one
Oh,
had
okay.
no fucking restraint, because in the end credits teaser,
They're talking about Zool.
they're like, "Who's Zool?" And
Yeah.
it's like,
Who's
okay,
Zool?
can
Ooh,
we?
Zool? Jeez, we know.
It's like, can we have a little restraint over here?
That's funny. That's funny.
Like, even I was kind of like at the end of that movie, I'm like, we don't need the firehouse. It's fine. Like, they had their own thing.
Yeah.
It's like, anyway.
But yeah, it's looking
I think
at.
that's such a really good point.
Mhm.
I think you nailed it. Like, I don't know if I like the new music, but I certainly do love the old hits. and that's what the remake of this movie is.
And then the other thing in my, like I brought up in the first half,
Mhm.
I looked up, I was like, what are these books actually about? And I'm like, they're not about this thing at all. Like,
Nothing related to this.
sometimes when they do a remake, they go, oh, we're actually, we don't call this a remake. This is
Oh.
a new adaptation. We go back to the source material.
True Grit. I would put True Grit in that
See,
category.
True Grit
The
actually,
Coen Brothers True Grit.
True
Yeah.
Grit, it does in fact do that. Like, it's the one time they said we're doing the book, and you watch and you go, you're right, you are doing the book.
That's the book. Oh yeah.
But yeah, if they went back to the book, they have nothing. There's nothing to grab there, because it's so different already.
That's true.
So they
That's
can't
true.
go back to the book.
Yeah.
And
For
then
How to Train Your Dragon, yeah.
for How to Train Your Dragon, and then even I was like, are they going to bring in anything from a sequel? Like, no, it's just
No Romans
straight
are going
ahead.
to pop up here.
Yeah.
No.
But even like they don't tease the mom more than just the line or
Yeah.
two.
Yeah.
Yeah,
They
a few
don't
lines,
have
yeah.
anything where they're like, oh yeah, and what was this in the sequel? There's like a bad guy and his name's like Blood Dragonus or something. It looks stupid.
Blah, 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 blah.
Yeah, and it's like
Yeah,
they don't.
and they talked a lot more about the concept of the alpha in the live action.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
that stuff and the mom stuff. That's pretty much it.
Mhm. But yeah, so it has the restraint to not go so crazy, and it plays the hits. I think that's a winner. Because the other thing with The Lion King,
Mm.
they're playing the hits, but on instruments that you've never heard of.
There it
Because
is.
it's like
Yeah,
the
it is.
idea
There it
of
is. You're doing it badly.
yeah,
You're doing it.
Doing
This,
it wrong.
this is a bad cover band.
yeah,
Oh wow, that's that's exactly.
yeah. So it's
The music seems a little off. They're not really hitting all the notes.
Yeah.
you're like, I thought I liked this song. Maybe I don't.
Why did you cut that song down?
Yeah.
Is literally what I said when they cut down, like, Be Prepared. I was like, you cut down Be Prepared?
Oh really?
They
Wow.
did, and I was so
I never
pissed.
saw the Lion King remake.
Redo. Yeah, no, they cut out Be Prepared, and that really pissed me the hell off. I was
I
like,
mean,
yeah, that's such a such a good way of putting it, Andrew. Gravity.
Yeah. But yeah, it's so. This is like the most beat for beat. I can't. You know, there's. I think we've covered the differences. It's just like one of those where it's like, well, do you have the nostalgia for the 2010 version? Do you like that animation a little better? Because even the dragons look pretty much the same.
They look, yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
I don't think, Toothless looks almost exactly the same.
Yeah.
Some of the others get a little grittier look to them, but it's essentially the same dragons.
essentially the same.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, Bethany, can I go back to you for a second? Like, me and Andrew are kind of on we more or less enjoyed it, but like you definitely kind of had a more of a hesitancy on it. It's like, what exactly can you kind of say, like maybe like wrap up thoughts on like why you're kind of more like but meh,
And I'll state, how I watched this as well. I saw the live action movie. I did not need to revisit the animated movie. I watch it every night in my head before I go to sleep. Because again, I've seen it so many times over and over. I could literally like play it along.
Right.
It was pretty beat for beat, and that's what I felt kind of. Again, it made it suffer, not in a super detrimental way, but in a way where it's like, oh yeah, they're definitely like, well, I have to hit this mark right here. It was almost like actors in rehearsal, where they're like, all right, I really got to make sure that this line is timed just this way. And even with the editing, and especially with the cinematography. I mean, I know you mentioned Roger Deakins, and he like assisted on the animated film, and that's part of what makes it stand out to me so much, is just the beautiful way that it's shot. But if you, as they did here, if you try to translate that to live action, like the proportions aren't quite correct always, because again, it's animation, you can do literally whatever you want. And so there were a few key shots that I was really excited to see, and then they either kind of just blew past it, or it didn't feel as impactful. And one key one, at least for me, is when Hiccup's wandering around looking for Toothless, looking for this dragon that he has downed. And then it's this he hears something and he kind of creeps over the hill, and then it's a very quick, oh my god, there's a dragon, like jump back down. And in the live action movie, it was just kind of like, oh yeah, there he is. And then I don't know, I was really waiting for that, and it kind of didn't hit as much as I wanted it to. That being said, I thought the fight sequence was really, really well done when they're in the ring and it's chaos and there's lots of flames and dragons and things on fire. I thought that was really well done. The thing that kept running through my mind is, and I don't know if this is a product of, I don't know what the budget exactly was. I don't know where they spent the budget. I don't know how they did the budget. It felt just kind of cheap, and it really felt like a live action, like, fan tribute. Like, I don't know if you've seen, there's a few of these, like, people will film themselves doing, like, there was that group that did the Indiana Jones movie in their backyard.
Right.
But then there's a group that did, like, the first song from the Goofy movie completely live action.
I remember that video.
Yeah, and it's fun and it's cool, and you can, like, feel that it's just like a bunch of people getting together to do a fun thing. But this felt like a Hollywood version of that, which kind of gave me the ick.
Fair. Okay.
Oh god. And to be fair, and honestly, I think the standout thing that really won this over for me was, I think Gerard Butler did a very, very good job. They made him look great. He really studied up on his own performance. But then in the additional stuff they gave him to do, he kind of got to, like, be more actory. And all of those moments, I really thought he did a great job with, and this could have been such a whiff if he had either phoned it in, or if he just, like, wasn't the same act. I mean, it's been 15 years. Well, and he's done such a good job. I think he really kind of deserves the award on this movie.
I kind of want to bring up I was listening to an interview with Dean DeBlas, and I do want to bring this because you brought Gerard Butler up. So apparently it is a classic. His agent, agents sometimes don't have the right thing aren't in your best interest. So his agent kept, like, apparently the Dean kept contacting Gerard's agent and went, "Hey, we're doing How to Train Your Dragon. If he's interested, we would love to have him back as live action Stoic." And the agent kept saying, "Well, Gerard's very busy right now. He's booked. He's booked." And then it looked like the strike happened. And And so he figured, okay, there must be some changes now, right? Like, certain everyone's schedules got all screwed up. So he contacted the agent one more time, and he's like, "I'm sorry, but he's busy again. He got booked again." And he's like, "All right." So he was almost, like, apparently a month away, and they still haven't casted Stoic.
Oh, wow.
And he was like, "We had backups, we had people in mind just in case," but he figured, because he figured, okay, we have to do the agent thing, yada yada. But he still had one last chance, and he decided, I have his fucking phone number.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna text him. And so he texts him saying, "Hey, we really tried. We really, really tried, but it looks like you're a busy man, and we totally respect that. But we're letting you know that we really tried to get you back for this one." And then Gerard texts him back going, "What are you talking about?"
Yep. Yeah.
And then he explained, and Gerard's like, "I'm free? What the hell?"
Oh, that's great.
Wow.
So anyway, I agree. He's nailed it. Like, you remember I talked about a little bit in the scene with him and Hiccup, and he kind of scooches his chair. Like, that's an animation choice. Well, Gerard saw that and went, "I am so doing the same exact thing." And he nailed it.
Yeah. I think he did a great job. And I did this. I did the live and concert adaptation, so I know literally every note of the score. And so paying attention to where, again, this on the one hand, I think it suffered because a lot of the music in the animated film, when it plays, is so married to the cuts and the timing, as a good score does.
Right.
and the timing of how it plays out. And here, it's not, down to the frame exactly as the animated film. Sometimes there's an extra sentence, there's an extra this, and so I thought John Powell did a great job with that. But then you can tell at the big moments, like Test Drive, and what really kind of they tried but almost didn't quite work was the romantic flight scene for me, because I can, if you I'm sure somebody will do this, bring up the YouTube and do them side by side. The musical swells are like perfectly timed to the very like beautiful like visuals of the animated film, and then they kind of just took that same timing and put it on the live action one, and so there's this big swell and we're just nothing's changed. and so to me that felt kind of odd and kind of a weird choice, but again, I understand why they did that and why they had to do that, so it's just kind of a product of what it is.
Yeah, that's you can't just copy and paste that kind of thing. It's really when you do that, you end up with nothing new.
Please rate and review Nothing New, a Remake podcast on your podcast app.
You can follow us on Instagram and Twitter at NothingNewPod.
You can find us on Patreon at patreon.com/nothingnnew.
Nothing New, a Remake podcast, is part of the Benview Network.